All right, it's your boy Codehova from Combinator. We're going to continue on with iOS Hustla, and we're going to talk about we finished talking about doing pushes and unwinds. Let's talk about popping view controllers. So what a pop is we have this yellow view controller. We're going to do a push segue, but we want this button right here to be able to go back one screen on the push segue that we just done. Just like what that does, we want this back button functionality put onto this purple button right here. So it's kind of similar. Let's create a yellow view controller and let's create a purple view controller. Easy as pie. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new file. Yellow view controller. Just create it in the project folder. Let's create another one for purple view controller. I really don't think we needed to create the yellow one, but hey, it's good practice. So let's go to into the identity inspector, which looks like a little newspaper. Yellow. And then here we want to go call this purple. Good. And then on the purple, let's erase code that we don't need. We create an IB action. Func, the keyword of func, and let's say pop view controller. Open and close parentheses because we don't have to give it any parameters. Open and close curly braces. So what we want to do in this function right here is we want to call on the navigation controller, and it's going to be an optional because this view controller doesn't know that it exists. But good thing about optionals is you could run functions on it, and if it's nil, it's just going to do nothing. So we press dot, and then we're going to say pop view controller. So there's different kinds of pops, but right now all we need is this one right here. And the description, it says pops the top view controller from the navigation stack and updates the display. So let's just rock with that. And for animated, let's just say true. So let's go back into our storyboard, go into our purple view controller, go into the connections inspector, and we see this pop view controller function, this action I mean, and it's empty. So let's connect it to this button in the center of the screen. Touch up inside, and let's run it. All right, so let's go into our second tab with our yellow view controller as the root. And then if we press this button, it's going to push. And this button right here, it should pop back. There you go. It pops. So in the meantime, I figured out why we would have to have this yellow view controller, right? Yellow view controller file connected in the identity inspector. So let's get rid of this single push segue. We have a push segue here that's connected to this button, but what it's going to do, it doesn't force, but we coded it so that when you push this button, it's going to segue directly to this screen here. And that's good and well if that's what you want to do. But there's other times where you want this push from here to go to here, but you have some information that you want to pass over. So how would you do that? So what you do is let's get rid of this deliberate connection from this button to this view controller. Let's delete it. And what you want to do is you select this yellow view controller, and then you hover over. You select this yellow circle, hold control, click and drag to this whatever view controller you may want to go to. And then we select this view controller, and we're going to want to do a manual segue of a just show. So this too, it's a push. But if we run it, we're going to see that nothing happens when we push this button because this is a segue that's kind of connected with this yellow view controller. Does nothing. So this is kind of like the unwind that we created, where this, it needs to have an identifier. in the identifier, we're going to let's just be literal, yellow to purple. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to connect this button here to this segue. And how are we going to do that? So what we're going to want to do is we're going to go into our yellow view controller, delete the code we don't need, and we're going to create an IB action. It's very, very similar to the Unwind Segue. Push to purple, open and close parentheses. We're not going to give any parameters. Okay. And what we're going to want to do is perform segue. Same. So if we go back to the storyboard, I forgot exactly the identifier that we ran with. It's yellow to purple. Let's select it all. Copy. Go into yellow view controller. Paste it in. And for sender, it could be a no. We don't need it. And right here we have this circle. It's saying that it's not connected. So let's go connect it. We go into our main storyboard. Select the yellow view controller. Go into the connections inspector. And push to purple is empty. Let's click and hold and drag onto this button. And for the event, we'll do touch up inside. And let's run it. So there's a reason why you would want to have this kind of segue happen, where it does the same thing that our previous segue did. But what we can do now is you could do it the other way. You could do it the other way as well. Both ways work. But let me just show you another thing that you could do with segues. So when we segue from yellow to purple, we want to be able to edit the title of this button. Right now it just says button. And what we want to do is we want to be able to control content data going from one view controller to the next. And how would we do that? We would do something when we prepare for the segue. And just watch, because you're going to see how I could send from this yellow screen data into the purple screen. So what we want to do is, again, we know the identifier is yellow to purple. Let's go into our yellow view controller. And there's going to be a function called prepare for segue. Prepare for segue. Boom. And in this, you're going to just want to watch this. This is something that you want to watch. If you don't get it, you want to watch it over and over until you get it. So we're going to say if let identifier equals segue dot identifier. And if that identifier is equals yellow to purple, we know that the destination equals segue dot destination, right? And then what we could say is let purple VC equal destination as purple view controller, open and close parentheses. So we're going to want to send over data to, my bad, I don't want to do that because it's saying that when we're dealing with this if let issue, this has to be an optional. But the way we could make it deal with an optional is that. And then we change this to purple. Yeah, that's my bad. I might have just confused you, but basically what we're saying is in this segue that happens, which would happen in the matter of, right, when I push this button, there's going to be a segue that happens that we created that's called yellow to purple. So this segue has an identifier. And if that identifier is equal to yellow to purple, and then the destination, the screen that we're going to, is the purple view controller, we want something to happen in this block. If we go to our purple view controller, let's create a public, it's public by default, but let's create a variable of string button title. And let's just set it to be nothing. Let's set it to be an empty string. So on yellow button, we'll be able to access that button title. Purple VC dot button title equals purple pop. Okay, that's what we want. That's what we want the string to be. Okay, and on the purple view controller, we're going to want to have an access to the outlet of that button. So let's just create an IB outlet, weak variable of purple button, which is going to be a type of UI button. And let's just connect it. On purple view controller, connections inspector, we see that the purple button is empty. Let's select that button. And to be able to see it easier, let's change the font to white. All right. So if we run it, let me not run it yet. But what we want to do is on the yellow view controller, let's run a print statement. Print, I have updated the purple VC's button title. All right, so we want to know whenever code in this block happens, it's going to print this out. So let's run the project. And if we go into our second tab and push, we get this code. I have updated the purple VC's button title, but it still says button. We didn't update the button's title just yet, but we do know that this code has been run because this has been run. All right, so we are pretty sure that button title, it has been updated from a blank string to purple button. So let's rock with that. So we have purple button dot set title button title normal. Okay, so let's run it. And now if I push this button, that button in the middle of the purple view controller should say purple pop. There we go, purple pop. So that's how you pass data from one view controller to the next. I'm pretty sure we're going to be sending a lot of data back and forth. So don't worry about it. You may want to practice this yourself because this is a very important process in iOS development. It's creating your own navigation, and you're going to be working with your own segues. You're going to have to create identifiers for your segues. You're going to have to prepare for segues, and you're going to have to learn how to create code like this, where you're going to pull out the segue identifier. You're going to compare it to identifiers that you have created, and then you're going to compare the destinations to where you want to go. And if it is correct, you're going to want to pass data into that view controller destination that you have deliberately created. And there you have it. So I have showed you how to be able to segue from a button to a view controller, and also creating a segue from a view controller to another view controller, and just manipulating the identifier. As you see, even when you have a segue from a button to a view controller, you are able to access the Storyboard Segues identifier, update its kind of segue. So my bad if I made it sound like you couldn't do that beforehand. But there you go. That's Storyboard Segues. It's your boy, Codehova, Fly Combinator. We're all on the road, man, to be iOS hustlers. Let's get that bag. More than 6 figures. Easy. Easy, easy, easy. Live streams every Sunday, 5 p.m.